The samurai didn't use Shuhari just to learn sword fighting. They used it to wake up, to speak, to eat, to train, to think, and even to face death. Shuhari wasn't a technique. It was a complete way of living. And once you see how they applied it to every part of their day, you'll understand why they were mentally unbreakable. For the samurai, learning wasn't something you did. It was something you became. From the moment a young boy first entered a dojo, his entire existence was structured around 3 stages: Shu, and Ri. So, let us walk through a day in the life of a samurai and see exactly how this powerful system shaped him from the inside out. A samurai's morning was rigid and uncompromising. He woke up at the exact same time, performed the exact same rituals, followed the exact same sequence every single day. Why? Because the samurai knew a fundamental truth. True freedom comes after discipline, not before it. In the morning, his breathing exercises were identical to his master's. His sword drills were repeated with relentless precision. His posture was constantly corrected. There were no shortcuts, there was no room for personal style. This was the stage of Shu, which means to obey or protect. The goal wasn't self-expression. It was perfect obedience to form. By mastering his morning, the samurai mastered his mind for the entire day. Once these fundamentals were so deeply ingrained they became second nature, the samurai entered the next stage. Ha! This is where training evolved dramatically. The master would suddenly change the rules. He would alter the distance between opponents, the speed of an attack, or even the weapons used. Students were forced to break from the rigid forms they had mastered and start adapting. In Ha, which means to detach or break away, the samurai learned when to bend the rules and when to break traditions. He discovered the point where structure stops being a guide and becomes a prison. This wasn't just for combat. On the battlefield or in the complex world of politics, rigid men were the first to fall. The flexible warriors, those who had mastered Ha, were the ones who survived and thrived. Samurai society was built on strict etiquette. How to bow, how to speak, how to sit, how to remain silent. Every public action was a performance of Shu. This created social harmony and projected an image of unshakable discipline. But in private, among trusted allies and mentors, they practiced Ha. They questioned, they debated, and they passionately refined ideas. This balance was crucial. It prevented arrogance, stopped recklessness, and maintained social order. They understood that you must first master yourself before you can ever hope to lead or master others. In a moment of life or death danger, there's no time to think. There's only time to act. This is where the final stage, Ri, appears. A samurai who reached Ri didn't debate options. He didn't hesitate, and he certainly didn't freeze. Years of dedicated Shu and adaptive Ha had forged a connection between his mind and body that was instantaneous. Action flowed from him without conscious thought. In a duel, Ri was the difference between life and death. In leadership, Ri commanded authority and respect. This is why samurai often appeared unervingly calm, even when facing their own mortality. They had transcended the paralysis of fear. The day ended as it began, with discipline. At night, the samurai would reflect. He would ask himself, where did I obey the forms correctly today? Where did I adapt wisely? And most importantly, where did my own ego get in the way? This daily reflection was a reset, bringing him back to the humble mindset of Shu for the next morning. You see, Shuhari was never a ladder to be climbed and then forgotten. It was a continuous loop, a cycle of mastery that never ended. So many of us today want freedom first. We want the results without the reps. The samurai chose discipline first. And that is why they moved faster, decided faster, and mastered their world faster than anyone else. If you want that samurai edge in your own life, remember their path. Live Shu in your daily routines. Practice Ha in your learning and challenges. And strive to reach Ri when it's time for decisive action. This is how warriors were made. Thanks for watching. Follow for more insights into the warrior's mindset. What if I told you the fastest way to master anything, a skill, a business, a language, even life itself, was discovered over 800 years ago in ancient Japan? Not by scientists, not by productivity gurus, but by samurai. They called it Shuhari. And once you understand this system, you'll realize why most people stay beginners forever, while a few rise to mastery with almost terrifying speed. This isn't just motivation. This is a learning weapon. Shuhari is a 3-stage path to mastery, used in samurai sword schools. Zen monasteries, martial arts, and even modern Japanese corporations. It explains how humans actually learn, not how we wish we learned. If you miss one stage, your progress collapses. But if you follow it correctly, you accelerate beyond everyone else. Let's break it down. First is Shu, which means to protect, to obey, to follow. This is the stage where most people fail. In Shu, you do not innovate, you do not question, you do not customize, you copy. An ancient sword student would practice the same movement thousands of times. Same stance, same grip, same cut. Why? Because ego is the enemy of learning. Modern people want shortcuts, but samurai wanted structure. In Shu, you trust the system, you respect the teacher, and you surrender your opinions. This builds muscle memory, discipline, and precision. If you skip Shu, you're building your skills on unstable ground. Next is Ha, which means to detach, to break, to diverge. This stage only begins after you've mastered the fundamentals. Now you start asking, why does this work? What happens if I adjust it? What fits me? In the Ha stage, the student begins to compare different styles, test variations, and understand the principles behind the rules. A samurai at the Ha level could adapt to different enemies, different terrains, and different weapons. This is where intelligence replaces obedience. But here's the danger. Most people try to live in Ha without ever mastering Shu. That's not creativity. That's just chaos. True Ha comes from earned freedom. Finally, there is Ri, which means to separate, to transcend. At this level, the rules disappear. Not because you ignore them, but because you have become them. The master no longer thinks about technique. Action flows naturally. Decisions are instinctive. Movement is effortless. In Ri, you create your own style, you teach without words, and you innovate without force. This is where legends are born. Miyamoto Musashi reached Ri, Zen masters reached Ri. True artists, leaders and strategists all reach Ri, but it cannot be rushed. It only appears when the ego is gone and discipline is complete. Shuhari works because it aligns with how we learn. Shu builds foundations, Ha builds understanding, and Ri builds originality. Most people rebel too early, quit too soon, or just imitate forever. Shuhari gives you a clear roadmap, so you always know where you are and what to do next. Here's the real secret. Mastery isn't about talent. It's about patience with the process. If you want to learn faster than everyone else, remember to obey first, break later, and transcend last. The ancient Japanese already figured it out. The only question is, which stage are you in right now? Thanks for watching. Most people fail in modern life for one reason. They want freedom before mastery, influence before discipline, money before skill. The samurai would call this suicide. Shuhari was never meant to stay in the past. It was designed for any battlefield. And today, your battlefield is your career, your business, and your mind. Let's weaponize it. Modern life is chaotic. There are too many opinions, too many self-proclaimed experts, and way too many promises of shortcuts. Shuhari cuts through all of it. 3 stages, 1 path. Total clarity. Let's start with Shu in your career. This is where you build invisible power. In your career, Shu means submission to competence. Not to people, but to proven systems. At this stage, you follow established processes. You master the fundamentals. You shut up and you observe. There's no ego. No, I already know this. You become dangerously reliable. While everyone else is complaining, you're absorbing knowledge like a sponge. Shu builds 3 critical things: skill density, a solid reputation, and unwavering trust. This is how silent professionals rise through the ranks while others stay stuck. Once the fundamentals are completely internalized, you enter the Heiei stage. This is where you break rules, but with intelligence. Now, you can start to improve systems, remove inefficiencies, and adapt faster than your competitors. This is the stage where entrepreneurs are born. In Ha, you don't copy blindly. You test, you refine, and you question assumptions. But here's the most important rule. Never break a rule you don't fully understand. That's why amateurs lose money while masters bend markets to their will. Finally, we arrive at Ri. This is the stage of leadership, where you move without thinking. Ri is where pressure reveals the truth about you. In meetings, in high-stakes negotiations, in a crisis, this is where it all comes together. At the Ri stage, you speak less, but your words carry more weight. You decide faster and you command attention naturally. People just feel it. Not because you're loud or aggressive, but because you are certain. You have a presence that can't be faked. This is the difference between a manager people have to listen to and a leader they follow without needing an explanation. Your biggest enemy throughout this entire journey isn't a lack of skill. It's your own ego and impatience. Shuhari is the ultimate tool for ego control because it forces obedience first, allows for rebellion later, and finally removes your attachment to any single way of doing things. This keeps your mind calm under pressure, focused in chaos, and sharp even in silence. This is mental sovereignty. Shuhari is not just some piece of ancient wisdom. It's eternal psychology. If you ever feel stuck in your career or your life, the solution is simple. Return to Shu and master the basics. Refine your approach through He, and then act from the intuitive certainty of Ri. The world doesn't reward those who chase outcomes. It rewards those who master the process. The samurai understood this, and now so do you. Thanks for watching.